morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It is the 15th of August, 2025, and as always, I am railing and screaming from the rooftops, blowing the horn about the mainstream networks massaging, manipulating, propagandizing, and lying. And you know what the result is? Hey, media, this is for you. You won't be trusted anymore. All right, welcome to the Friday, the TGIF edition of today's installment of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, and as always, we broadcast live from 2 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 11 a.m. Pacific Time. And if you're listening during that time, we're live here on the Red State Talk Radio Network, and that means you can call in. And the phone number here is 215-867-8255. Now, I do ask the people to call in to please stay on topic, or if you do have something else you want to throw to the table, let's make it brief, and then we can talk about it. But anyway, this broadcast is brought to you in part by the Wave Watch. And if you haven't checked it out, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, click on the sponsors page, and you can find out about the Wave Watch. This is Tesla technology, Rife technology that you wear on your wrist. Yeah, a Rife machine you wear on your wrist with over 1,000 frequencies for all kinds of issues. Now, I'm not here to say it's going to treat or cure anything, but it'll sure help. That's, you should hear some of the testimonials that are coming in. And you can hear those if you check out the Wave Watch. They've got a lot of videos on YouTube. And then if you do decide that you want to get one, hey, do business with us. You'll get $100 off by using the promo code REDPILL100. So keep that in mind. Check out the Wave Watch. You'll be glad that you did. Okay, getting started today. I'm going to be a little historical because I know that the regular listeners out there, they know a bit about my background, and I know we've got a lot of new listeners out there that don't know a whole lot about yours truly. So if you've got a paper and pencil, you want to write down a couple of websites, and you have to use the Wayback Machine to find them because they're not there anymore. And one of the websites is GulfWarVets.com. That's GulfWarVets.com. And if you go there, you'll find that that was when I was with Joyce, and we were the American Gulf War Veterans Association, and we were doing everything we could to help the veterans from not just the Gulf War, but also the Vietnam War. This was back in the 90s and early 2000s. And the other website that you might want to check out is thepowerhour.com. And that was the radio show that Joyce and I did on the GCN network back in the 2000s. So you can do some vetting, And anyway, going back in time, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and I was, I just like all the other teenagers and young adults, being influenced by music. Yeah, the Beatles and the Stones and the Zombies and the Dave Clark Five and Bob Dylan and Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead. And, I was a musician, and I still am. I've been playing guitar and singing my entire life. And for many years, I chased that brass ring. I wanted to get out there and be a big, successful musician. But I also, because of the fact that I was a singer, and I've got a decent voice, and I also was getting involved in broadcasting. I got my broadcaster's license in 1979 at the University of Hartford. And I bounced around, besides just being a musician, I was also working at radio stations. And in 1995, I started as a talk show host on WATR and AM 1320 in Waterbury, Connecticut. And that's when I really tumbled down the rabbit hole. And I got to tell you, that was in 95. If you recall the Oklahoma City bombing, I was in touch with, Governor, what's his name? Key. He was a representative there in Oklahoma at the time. But anyway, I was also in touch with some of the broadcasters there at the television stations and found out that we had been lied to about the Oklahoma City bombing. But I'd also found that we'd been lied to about the Gulf War. And I wanted to at least throw this out there because this is what really got me going, is way back when, like I said, I was a very strong supporter of the Gulf War veterans. And Joyce and I were traveling all over the country trying to help these veterans. And let me see if I can cue this up. I just want to play a couple of verses from this. Let me see here. This is just to give you an idea of how they were lying to us. And this is why I was so upset about this. And this is also why, as a matter of fact, let me set this up. As I said, Joyce and I were working to try to help the veterans. And Joyce was a medical malpractice legal consultant. She was an expert witness. She had her master's in cardio. She was a nurse, and she served in the Air Force Reserves as a flight nurse. And like I said, as a medical malpractice legal consultant, she was a ferret for going through documentation. Attorneys would send her reams of documents to try to figure out where the fraud was. And she would find that one piece of paper where the decimal point had been whited out and moved over one digit, indicating that there was an overdose. So, I mean, just to give you an idea. And so anyway, we were advocates for the Gulf War veterans. And at one point, she was asked to testify before the Presidential Commission on Gulf War Syndrome. And so anyway, we went to San Antonio. She was given 10 minutes. And we had been, like I said, going through all kinds of documents, congressional records, Senate reports, congressional hearings, after action reports, and we had all the documentation. And anyway, so she was given 10 minutes to testify. She got up there, and she said, Senator so-and-so, here's Senate Report 10397. I believe it's called the Regal Report. She says, you sat on this panel, so you know all the information here about the chemicals and biologicals we were shipping over to Saddam Hussein. And so I don't want to waste your time and my time going over information that you already have. And I'm sure that you've shared it with the rest of this panel. Oh, okay, Congressman so-and-so, here's congressional record, yada, yada, yada. And you sat in on this panel. And I'm sure that you've gone through this and shared it with the rest of this panel, so I don't want to waste your time and mine going over information that you obviously already have. And these guys were squirming in their seats. Colonel so-and-so, here's the after-action report from CENTCOM. This is the report that went to Norman Schwarzkopf and Colin Powell. And you know about the chemical and biological exposures that our troops were, exposed to. And I'm sure that you've shared this with the rest of this prestigious panel. So I don't want to waste your time or mine going over information that you already have. So I'm going to turn the rest of my time over to my husband, Dave vonKleist, and he's going to play a song for you. And I got my guitar, and I walked up, and there were guys in suits talking into their sleeves and saying, what's going on? They got all freaked out and everything. But I got up there and sang this song a cappella. Now, I'm not going to play the whole song, but I wanted to sing the song because I wanted to express the problems our veterans were having. And I gave names. Yeah, I did. And anyway, here's just a couple of verses from that song. And I'm setting the table because I want you all to understand why I have such revulsion for the mainstream media, because they held back all this information. Here's just a couple of verses from that song. Oh, what did I do? Oh, I hit the wrong button. Doggone it. All right, let's see here. Let me do this again. Okay, there it is. Here we go. This is it right here.
Nowadays I feel tired, and at night I perspire. I've always got this damn headache. My eyes feel like they are always on fire. I've got this rash on my body, and I notice that it's growing bigger each day. I'm always sick to my stomach, and there's no satisfaction living day to day.
Okay, the preceding verse had to do with giving them pills and inoculations, and that was the reaction.
My wife said we'd have a baby, and when I found out I smiled. The happiest time in my life, to find I'd father a child. I'm decorating the nursery, I feel like tooting my horn. And on the blessed morning, my little boy was stillborn. No, they say it's psychosomatic, they say it's all in my head. I tried to contact my buddies, and several of them are dead. I looked for help from the VA, I got the big run around. I'm always looking for answers, but only question after question is found.
Okay, here we go.
George Bush, Jim Baker, Brent Scowcroft. Where do you fit in the scene? You claim you're out of the loop, but I have got suspicions that your hands are not clean. Now General Schwarzkopf gives lectures, and Colin Powell signs his book. If there's a chance you were paid off, I wonder how much it took. No.
Okay, you can understand why they got a little bit upset with the lyric on this. Let's go on here.
Tuned in a radio broadcast, and Captain Riley was there. Reports from Senator Regal.
The Regal Report
Showed me there's people who care. I thank the Nicholson doctors for helping show us a way. There's guys on doxycycline getting treatment each day. Yeah. Overseas, it's the front page. British regimental troops are dropping like flies.
What about the U.S. media?
And the American networks are all ignoring international cries.
Yeah, right.
I don't know where this is going. I don't know where this will end. But now I'm on medication. My strength's returning, and again I'll defend. Apparent forces at work from within will expose them one by one, name by name. With the hell that we've been through, if there is any justice, they will suffer the same. Yes.
Don't turn your back on your veterans. They're only seeking what is honest and fair. Where are all those yellow ribbons? I wonder where are all those voices that care? Okay, you can see why I sort of got them a little ticked off with that song, okay? So anyway, a couple weeks after that, Joyce got a phone call, and the two of us were invited to go to another meeting. And this, again, was in San Antonio. And this time we showed up, and I forget if it was a Sheraton or a Holiday Inn, and we got there, and we went into this big room, and then the doors closed, and there were guys that were standing guard at the door. And then the moderator, or main speaker, came up to the podium, and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, I just want you all to know that if you're in this room right now, you have been thoroughly vetted. We know exactly who you are. We know exactly what you're doing. And we're honored to have you all here." I was like, whoa, that's kind of interesting. And then the presenter went on to explain what had happened to our country over the past 150 years, ever since 1871, when we lost our Constitution and the United States became a corporation. And it went from being the Constitution for the United States of America to the United States, the Constitution of the United States of America. So anyway, he went on to explain how that all those years ago, the bankers, the organized crime families, and the industrialists all got together and decided that they were going to take over this country. And they, little by little, incrementally, over decades and decades, they got all their ducks in a row, created the IRS, the 16th Amendment, the Federal Reserve, yada, yada. And the final nail in the coffin was when they took out JFK. Now, we all know that JFK wanted to do away with the Federal Reserve. He wanted to do away with the CIA, splinter them into 1,000 pieces and cast them to the wind. He also wanted to expose the secret societies. He also, and this was a biggie, this was the big biggie, he wanted to have the American Zionist Committee for Public Affairs, that's what the name of AIPAC was before it became AIPAC. He wanted them to register with FARA, the Foreign Agent Foreign Agent Registry, I forget what it is. But anyway, if you're a foreign agent, you're supposed to register with FARA. Well, they didn't like that. So anyway, shortly after that, JFK was killed. And anyway, the point is, is that I have no respect for the mainstream media anymore. And we all know, all of you regular listeners out there know that you're getting horse hockey and propaganda from ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, and also now some people are starting to realize that you're getting fed a bunch of crap from the conservative networks that are out there. In fact, let me see, where is it? Yeah, here it is. Christopher Ruddy, who's the CEO of Newsmax, he was introducing Bibi Netanyahu, and listen to how he sucks up to Bibi Netanyahu. Listen to this.
On October 7th, we all recognize that all people who love freedom and cherish the values of a great society, on that day, we all became Israelis.
Okay, I'm pausing it right there. Again, they're referring to October 7th. Now, anybody that does any research into October 7th, you will find that, yes, it is very highly probable that the Hannibal Directive was implemented and that Israel was behind the attacks. Now, let that settle in, folks.
Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. That's crazy, Dave.
Oh, really? Well, do some research. You'll find out that it's not so crazy. Anyway, what else did Christopher Ruddy have to say when he was introducing Bibi Netanyahu?
And we all stood with Prime Minister Netanyahu and the people of Israel, and we stand with you today. Today, we welcome a statesman who has been tested on the world stage and will continue to meet those tests with iron will and unshakable purpose. Please join me in giving a warm and heartfelt welcome to the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Newsmax, for helping us on the 8th Front War.
Helping us to continue the propaganda, in other words.
7 fronts against Iran and its proxies. The 8th front, the battle for truth. And Newsmax, you have let the truth circle the globe against the lies that have circled it before and continue to do so. There's only one way to beat the lies, and that's with the truth.
Okay, well, you want to talk about some lies? Okay, well, let's talk about some lies, okay? And it's not just the United States media. It's also across the pond, the BBC. They have been manipulated as well. As a matter of fact, there's a whistleblower, and I've got a video here, and this woman's face is covered up because she didn't want to be identified, but here's her testimony about what was going on across the pond with the BBC.
Israel has a right to defend itself. That was the editorial line that was drilled into us, into all of our coverage. It was really an integral part of the editorial stance. To a guest talking about, Israeli airstrikes killing Palestinians in Gaza, that would be the response from our presenters.
Denying access to food is collective punishment, and that we should all be clear in saying that.
Israel will argue, obviously, that it has a right to defend itself.
People were terrified of using the word genocide in coverage. They still are. You will very rarely see it in any BBC coverage. And if an interviewee says the word genocide...
This is a genocide happening in front of our eyes.
That word is, as you know, incredibly emotive, and the Israelis, as you know, will be saying that they are targeting Hamas only.
The presenter will almost always panic.
The Labour Party, of all political parties, which has always had a strong peace contingent within it, is now actually supporting genocide.
Okay, we can maybe just avoid that language if that's okay.
Yeah, you can't even say the word genocide on the BBC. I wonder why that is. Okay, well, this is why, they say that if you want to know who's in control, take notice of who you're not allowed to criticize. Okay, and they also say if you want to know the truth, take notice of what you're not allowed to investigate. Think about that for a little bit. And as a matter of fact, there's something that's been circulating for several years. Now, I can't tell if this is a Scottish accent or an Irish accent, but there's a gentleman that put this out, and it was on YouTube for a couple of years, and then they took it off. Okay, but now it's back up again. And basically, this gentleman is pulling up all these old newspapers and noticing that there's a magic number that keeps on popping up over the years. I'll give you one guess as to what that number is. Listen up.
As in the Sun of New York, Sunday, June the 6th, 1915. This is 18 years before Hitler ever set foot in the government. There it is, people.
1915.
6 million Jews.
Ooh.
The New York Times, October the 18th, 1918.
1918.
The article called $1 billion fund to rebuild Jewry. There it is. 6 million souls will need help to resume normal life when war is ended. The New York Times, September the 8th, 1919.
1919.
The article is called Ukrainian Jews Aim to Stop Pogroms. Mass meeting here that 127,000 Jews have been killed and 6 million are in peril.
Okay.
In the New York Times, November the 12th, 1919.
Again, 1919.
Reduced to tragically unbelievable poverty, starvation and disease. About 6 million souls, or half the Jewish population of the earth. February 23rd, 1920.
1920.
6 million Jews. Friday, May the 7th, 1920. The Fund for Jewish War Sufferers in Central and Eastern Europe, where 6 millions face horrifying conditions of famine, disease and death. New York Times, Wednesday, July the 20th, 1921. 12 years before Adolf Hitler ever set foot in the government. Look at that. Russia's 6 million Jews are facing extermination by massacre.
Okay, I could go on and on. There's so many references here. As a matter of fact, there's a gentleman who subscribed to the New York Times, which gives you access to all of the old issues. You can go back and look at these newspaper clips. And they're all there. This is not, this is not misinformation. This is not some hoax or anything like that. That number, 6 million, has been coming up over and over and over and over and over and over again for years. And we're talking years and years and years before Hitler even came to power. Now, there's something else that's rather curious. As a matter of fact, we can go to the records from the Red Cross, all right? And I'm pulling this up here from 1933. Now listen to this, folks. In 1933, here's a chart with the population worldwide by religious beliefs, okay? And in Europe, let me see, in 1933, the number of Jews in Europe was 9,494,363. That's the count that the Red Cross had. So we're talking 9.5 million Jews in Europe. Okay? So now that's in 1933. 15 years later, 1948, that's after the Second World War, it went from 9,494,000, it dropped down to 9,372,000. Wow. It certainly isn't 6 million lower, is it? No, and the other category here is rather interesting. In 1933, the worldwide population of Jews was, 15,316,000 and change. 15,316,000. Okay? 15 years later, after the Second World War, it was 16,763,000 and change. So the worldwide population of Jews actually went up. Now, what do they say? Figures never lie, but liars do the figures. 6 million, 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 6 million. You see how that works, folks? So this is why I have nothing but contempt for the mainstream media because, as they say, if you want to know who's in control, pay attention to who you're not allowed to criticize. And this goes on and on and on. Let me see. I got something else here that was on that particular subject. But anyway, I'm going to take a quick break. Here we go. Save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code RedPill101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary. And as always, if you'd like to get more tank, please visit our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and it'll take you down to a window where you can find out all about Get More Tank on their website. All the specifications and all that stuff and all the scientific data is there. It'll show you exactly how and why that this fuel catalyst, it's not a fuel additive, it's a catalyst. Big difference. And you'll find out exactly why your engine runs more efficiently, it runs cooler, it runs cleaner, and it runs with more power. And over the next tank or two of gas, you'll find that your mileage will improve by anywhere between 15 and 20%, depending upon your driving habits. So, hey, check it out. It's a no-brainer, folks. You're going to save money, and you're going to improve your engine performance. So go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, click on the sponsors page, and get more tank. All right, getting back to the issue. And by the way, once again, the phone number here, if you want to call in on this Friday, it's 215-867-8255. Now, a couple of minutes ago, I was talking about this meeting that I was in San Antonio, and how the military guy was saying that that we had gone through a tremendous change in this country when this country became incorporated. And he was saying basically after John F. Kennedy was assassinated, a lot of good military people realized what was happening. And they said, we are going to get our country back. Whoa, okay. All right, hold on there. He said, we're going to get our country back. And he said, the bad guys, it took them decades and decades and decades to get all their ducks in a row. And they had to be very stealth. They had to be diabolical. They had to be ruthless. And they had to be patient. But they got it done. And they finally got it all done when they took out JFK. And he says, well, I'm here to tell you that there are good guys out there, and we are going to take our country back, but we have to be just as diabolical, just as stealth, just as ruthless, and just as patient. And it's not going to be a month or a year or even a decade. It's going to take us a while to get our ducks in a row, but we are going to get our country back and get our Constitution back, because we are the good guys. We are the white hats. And that term white hats, it didn't register at first. Not until about 7 or 8 years ago when Donald Trump got into office, and I saw some of those conspiracy theorists with the Q posts, and they started talking about the white hats. And I said, the white hats? Oh my gosh. Maybe there really are good guys in the military. Maybe there really are people who are going to fight against this globalist control that we are all facing. Now, I don't know how things are going to go. I hope and pray that they go in a good way. But I think we all know that we are on the cusp right now. We're at a tipping point in this country and indeed in the world. And we can only hope, and I hope you will pray, that the good guys will come out on top. Now, I don't know how it's going to play out, but I do know that we have to pray. And that's something that they're terrified about. I'll get back to that in a couple of minutes, but we have a phone call. Hello, caller. Who are you, and where are you calling from?
Hi.
Oh.
Cynthia.
Hey, Cynthia, how are you? What do you got for me today?
Well, I'm touching on some themes that you've already mentioned, which is that is not Trump. That is somebody who resembles Trump, but is not Trump, even being presented internationally.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump is already stated he is not a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
He did this at a Charlie Kirk event for Christians.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen 1 hour into his speech, he says, "I am not a Christian," as the crowd is roaring. They can't really hear what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
But I ran that past James Fetzer, and he agreed. So, meanwhile, they have obviously deflated the value of our dollar by a lot of chicanery and a lot of fraud.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's a movement afoot to say, well, we're going to go with some kind of CBD, and we're going to back it with gold that we got from the Vatican and silver. And then they mention assets. And I'm thinking, Catherine Austin Fitts has said that what she thinks they're going to try and do is sell off what they call federal lands. But as you know, I followed G.R. Mobley and his reclaimingtherepublic.org.
Yeah.
And he says that's not federal land. That is land that the federal government, Congress, tried to take from the states as they formed the states from the territories that were won either through war or through purchase. And so the states, it happened so long ago, people haven't learned the Constitution. They don't know about those ratification debates where it was explained the federal government isn't going to own hardly anything. In fact, if they have a fort in a state, that they need to rent that land from the state. They don't own that land. And meanwhile, they're claiming assets left and right. And I'm very much concerned about the military takeover that seems to be going on. So people need to learn that federal land is not federal. It belongs to the state it's in.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to start educating their legislators. And if necessary, they need to run for office. As I'm thinking of calling it the Constitutional Compliance Party, or the CCP.
Oh, I don't know if you want to call it the CCP or not.
It catches your attention.
Oh, yeah, it definitely did. Sort of like, WTF. That's why I called it the WTF reports, Of course, that stands for with the facts.
There is a party called the Constitution Party,
mm-hmm.
but they actually don't understand the Constitution. I've been looking at their platforms, and, for example, the electors are supposed to be chosen by the people at an election. And instead, what's happening is the political parties are choosing who they want to be electors, and then you choose their candidate or somebody else's candidate. This was happening as far back as the election of Abraham Lincoln. It actually started in 1852 when the legislatures were bribed or misled, whichever, into allowing the parties to choose the electors. But instead, for every 30,000 persons, they're allowed to choose the elector of their choice, someone
mm-hmm.
who is wise and experienced, that they trust to make that decision of who to vote for president. You're not supposed to be voting for the president. You're supposed to be voting for your elector. And the elector is not a paid position, right?
Yeah.
And it only takes a couple months. So, and you're thinking about 30,000 persons, but only about half of those will be voters at most. So you're not talking about a huge war chest. And by the way, for members of Congress, members of the House, it is the same ratio, 1 for every 30,000 persons. Congress unconstitutionally reapportioned it with an act in 1929 that people forgot that Congress doesn't have the right to change the Constitution. It does not, but it did. And people stood back and said, oh, okay, well, this is easier. There's only so many seats in that big building, so that doesn't make sense because you need representation.
Well, that's true, but there's an old saying that says if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. And that's the problem here, is that a lot of people don't understand the Constitution, and the problem here is that the original organic Constitution was mothballed in 1871, and we're dealing with a de facto government, not a de jure government. And if people want to find out more about that, do some research into jural assemblies. Because this is an effort that's going on around the country right now to have us return to the original de jure Constitution.
Well, be sure you don't do anything that negates your right to run for office. Okay?
I don't think I want to run for office. That's fun. That's funny because all the good people, good people don't lust for money and power. So if good people don't lust for money and power, who ends up with the money and power is bad people. I mean, this is just common sense.
Dave, we need honest people to step up to the plate and choose someone who actually exists. Mm-hmm. Trump apparently died in a helicopter accident decades ago.
Yeah, I've heard that.
If you look at the pictures of the men who've been portraying Trump, they have altered over time key features. James H. Fetzer has an expose on that. Maybe other people do by now. And we need experienced people to run to be electors, presidential electors. You'd be great. There's no money. There is some power. There's some power to use your bully pulpit, your show, to talk about these issues.
Well, our founding fathers never meant a government to become a career. People would be elected into office, they would serve their term, and then they would go back to their communities. And that's the way it was. But now we've got career politicians. I mean, like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. I mean, all of these people, it was just amazing how everything got all turned around. And of course, all these elected officials, they've got all the inside scoop as to what's going on with the stock market. So they make millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars on a salary that's like maybe $150,000, $250,000. So this is what's wrong with our country. The God has now become money, the dollar sign.
Well, we need to take it back. 30,000 person district by district by district. You have your city council, your county council demand of the secretary, the attorney general of the state, that they return us to legitimate constitution, and that the elections will be for the presidential electors and not for the candidates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, like I said, we've got to go back to the way things used to be, the way they were supposed to be, because the way they are now is completely out of whack. So, all right. Well, I appreciate your contribution, my dear.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep bugging you to run for presidential elector.
I am going to. You want me to run for? No, no, trapdoor ain't going to happen. No, yeah, I'm out of here. Okay. All right, you have a good weekend, Cynthia. Okay.
All right.
All right. God bless. Bye now. Yeah. Well, she was just saying redistricting. Well, the Texas has been redistricted, and guess what? Jasmine Crockett lost her seat. Just like that. She's gone. Oh, my gosh. And, of course, Gavin Newsom, he's all upset. He wants to redistrict California and totally wipe out all of the conservative Republican seats. And I'll tell you, this guy is corrupt as sin. I mean, the whole doggone government is corrupt as sin. But anyway, yeah, there's so much stuff going on. I don't even know where to start. What's her name? Karen Bass. She was losing her cookies yesterday because, Newsom was having his press conference and Karen Bass was there, and there were a bunch of ICE authorities there arresting illegals. And she's saying, these ICE agents are creating all these problems, and this is ridiculous. This is not acceptable. And she was losing her mind over this. I got to remind these people, you Democrats are the ones that created this problem. I mean, by opening up the borders, it is absolute. It's going to take years and years to recover from this. As a matter of fact, let me see if I have this audio clip here. I got so many audio clips I got to sort through here. No, I don't have it queued up here. All right. Well, the point is that by opening up the borders and having the NGOs have been basically funding this whole thing, and it's destroyed our country. It really has. Anyway. Speaking of destroying, I mentioned a little while ago that we have to somehow get back in touch with our higher self, if you will. You've got to start praying. You've got to get yourself centered. And that's why I say, go look in the mirror and look beyond the eyes. Forget about the meat suit that you happen to be wearing. It's just like a car. Just because you have, a red car, a sedan, or a van, or a pickup truck, or whatever, you're not the truck or the car. You're the driver. And it's the same thing with your body. Your body is like the car. It's who's inside driving. I mean, I've met a lot of drop-dead gorgeous women in my life, but some of them are just terrible drivers, So you could be driving a Maserati, but if you don't know how to drive and be courteous, then you're just a crappy driver. And so look beyond the eyes. Look beyond the fact that if you're tall or you're short or you're fat or you're skinny or you're white or you're black or you're blue eyes or brown eyes or whatever. Look beyond that. That's a meat suit. You want to get in touch with your higher self, and the powers that be don't want you to do that. They want to destroy your ability to be spiritual. As a matter of fact, they did about 20 years ago, I remember covering this, and I have the video here. You can listen to the audio. This was a presentation that was given at the Department of Defense. And again, this is 2005, not too long after the 9/11 attacks. And of course, we all know that was done by, Muslim extremists, religious zealots. And they were saying that, these people who are on jihad, and they believe that this is their spiritual quest. They say, okay, well, how do we quiet down the part of the brain that has you seek out some sort of spirituality? And this is what they said. I'm going to play this. This is a video. And by the way, the presenter, I can't say for sure, but it sure as heck looks like Bill Gates. Listen to this.
Over here, we have individuals who are religious fundamentalists, religious fanatics. And this is the expression, RT-PCR, real-time PCR expression of the VMAT2 gene. Over here, we have individuals. So let me complete.
Okay, he's showing a slide, and it's a scan of the brain.
Who are not particularly fundamentalists, not particularly religious, and you can see there's a much reduced expression of this particular gene, the VMAT2 gene. Another evidence that supports our hypothesis for the development of this approach. What you see
here is by spreading this virus, we're going to eliminate individuals from donning on a bomb vest and going into a market and blowing up the market.
So our hypothesis is that these are fanatical people, that they have overexpression of the VMAT2 gene, and that by vaccinating them against this, we'll eliminate this behavior.
Okay, you just heard it. Now, I could continue to play this. He was talking about developing a vaccine that would reduce the brain activity that gives you spirituality. In other words, you won't have any desire to seek God anymore. All right, now this has also been echoed. Let me see, where's this next one here? There is a plan to destroy the pineal gland. Okay, let me see if I can cue this one. Here it is.
Will be a movement driven by big corporations to take the soul away from people, to disconnect people from the higher world. And in order to do that, we have to destroy the pineal gland in people. And I followed the research on that, and amazingly what we found, the pineal gland is the most sensitive part of our central nervous system, and is highly, highly, highly sensitive to four things: aluminum, glyphosate, fluoride, and Wi-Fi. And we are the only country in the world that has pushed these four things in the last 60 years or so on everybody growing up here. There must have been an ultra-intelligent group of scientists who have designed this protocol to fluoridate the drinking water, to put nanonized aluminum in the air, to put glyphosate in the food, and then activate it, spark it with the right frequencies.
We're dealing with evil, evil people here. And I think you all know that. And this is exactly why everybody has to, tune into your higher self. Pray to God. Whatever system or methodology that you use, and I don't care what religion you are, but look, like I said, look beyond your meat suit. Look into your own soul. You know the difference between right and wrong. You know the difference between good and evil. And what does it say? Who was it that said the only thing for evil to prevail is for good people to do nothing? Yeah. And this has been going on for a long time. As a matter of fact, I have we look at the past 5 years, when Biden got in there and the COVID, the whole COVID thing, Albert Bourla, who is, of course, he is the CEO or president of Pfizer. He gave a presentation. This goes back several years because their plan on rolling out the hokey pokey thingy dingy, they were hoping that they could reduce the world population by 50%. 50%. Let me see if this will play. Go ahead. Here he is, Albert Bourla.
Goals for the next 5 years, and one of them was by 2023 we will reduce the number of people in the world by 50%.
Oh, okay. This drives me nuts. I don't know why these people, when they post stuff, they feel that they have to put music behind it. And sometimes the music and sound effects are so doggone loud, you can't hear what the people are saying. But anyway, he was just saying that, the plan was to reduce the population by 50%. That's their plan. Now, are these good people or evil people? Not hard to figure out. Matter of fact, Sherry Tenpenny was just explaining that there's a new vaccine out there for rabies. Listen to this one.
I did an interview with Dr. Faulkner, our homeopathic vet, a couple of days ago, and he said that will be released in a couple of weeks. And he was talking about a new rabies vaccine called Rabies-NXT, which stands for Rabies Next. And it's a self-amplifying RNA vaccine for rabies for dogs. And he said the problem with it, all the side effects are exactly what you would see in a dog that has rabies. They've gone from tepid and mild to aggressive to biting to salivating to angry and all the different things that happen with rabies. And I said, well, if that's an saRNA vaccine, that means it will continue to replicate and make the imprint of rabies. Is that going to be spread to humans? I mean, if your dog licks you, your dog's always wanting to lick you, lick your hand, your face, and all these other things. Is rabies going to be spread to humans? He said, nobody knows. Nobody's really looked at that. I said, oh, that's just great.
Isn't that's just great. Nobody's looked into that. I'm telling you, folks, that we are under attack, and I've said this many, many, many times, and I'll keep on saying it. The globalist number one goal is to reduce the population down to 500 million people. 500 million. It was etched in the Georgia Guidestones. They were blown up about 2 years ago. But the number one tenet in the Georgia Guidestones was, and I quote, maintain humanity at no more than 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Yeah. So they want, over 93%, I think it is, because it's slightly over 8 billion now. They want 93% of the world population to die. This is not me saying it. It was, like I said, it was etched in stone. And they're going to do any and everything that they can to fulfill that goal. But in order to fulfill that goal, they got to shut people like me up. They have to take down the United States. And unless people understand that, and unless people start standing up and screaming about this, they'll get it done.
Oh, yeah, but Taylor Swift has got a brand new album out there.
Oh, gosh, here we go.
Oh, yeah, man, this baseball season's heating up.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Netflix. Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's the priority. And the mainstream media is just whipping people up left and right, getting them all, fighting amongst themselves and getting their priorities all out of whack. And I know these topics are somewhat disjointed, but I promise you they're not. Everything is connected. I mean, over the past 4 years, look what's happened to our country. And anybody who's standing up trying to stop it is being labeled and accused and ridiculed and demonized and doxxed and censored, etc., etc. They just had those last month. Remember, they had those No Kings protests. We're going to have those all over the country, screaming about the conservatives and Donald Trump and all that. No kings, no kings. Well, they didn't have anything to say under the Biden administration, did they? As a matter of fact, there was a young girl who made this post, and she made way too much sense. Listen to this.
No kings.
No kings.
Unless it was during the pandemic when all the mom and pop businesses were shut down, but the government said it was totally fine for all the major super rich corporations to continue operating. But I didn't really care because as long as I could get my Starbies and go to Target, I was fine. No kings.
No kings.
Except during the pandemic when we told people that they would lose their job unless they took a certain medical product, or they couldn't even go into certain restaurants without vaccine paperwork. That was crazy, but I didn't really care because I just complied. No kings.
No kings.
Remember when we also told people that they had to not visit their loved ones that were sick and dying in the hospital, the elderly? They had to die alone. That was really sad. We shut down the schools, completely wrecked the developmental learning for a whole generation. I mean, that was tragic, but we don't really talk about that because that's over now. New outrage. No kings. Remember when we were told over and over if we got that medical product, we for sure would not get sick. And even though the people that got it immediately did get sick, we were for sure told they wouldn't spread it. And then that gradually became, well, like 95%, like 75%. Okay, there's no evidence it does what we told everyone it does, but we've already made everyone take it that would anyway. And no one really cared because it's new outrage time. No kings. And do you remember during that time, anyone who tried to bring attention to these issues on social media was censored or their account was banned? And limiting free speech at that time seemed okay to me. I didn't really think about it. No kings. You don't hate authoritarianism. You just hate what you're told to hate by the algorithm and the news outlets. Be so for real. I just wish the anti-authoritarian energy was present during actual tyranny from both the federal and local governments during that time. But no, of course not. And it's not authoritarianism if the majority of the people voted for it, both popular vote and electoral votes. People wanted the border secure. So settle down and start thinking for yourself. Turn off the TikTok. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, it will be okay as long as everybody understands that it's up to us. I mean, where is your line in the sand? Seriously. Do you even have a line in the sand? What is it going to take for Americans to get off their big fat butts and get involved? And you don't have, and I'm talking about the local level. I'm talking about contacting your town hall, your selectmen, your representatives, et cetera, and let them know how you feel on these topics. A lot of people, they don't want to get involved. Oh, I don't want to make waves, I don't want to stick out in the crowd. But where do they dry the lawn in the sand and stand up and scream, "We're mad as hell, and we're not going to take this anymore"? Yeah, we're mad as hell, we're not going to take it anymore. When did people realize that?
We're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, we're in a lot of trouble. How did we get here? We got here because we were sitting on our hands. We got fat, dumb, and lazy. Everything was so easy. Everything was so good. But now we got an entire generation that's in big trouble now. Thanks to the Department of Education. The Department of Indoctrination, I should call it. I don't know if there's a good way out of this, folks, but I do know that we're not going to fix this unless people roll up their sleeves and realize that it's up to us. If this is a government of, by, and for the people, that means you. That means me. That means all of us. We have to do whatever it is that, God calls us to do. God called me to scream and blow the trumpet, and that's what I'm doing. So anyway, what can you do? What can you do to roll up your sleeves and fix this country? That's something to think about over the weekend. All right, that's going to wrap it up for another week of broadcasting here at the WTF Reports. If you're enjoying the broadcast, I hope you are. I would hope and pray that you will support the broadcast by doing business with our sponsors and maybe even make a donation on our GoFundMe because, we got to keep the lights on, and I want to expand this program into a full-blown podcast, but it's going to take money. So anyway, that said, it's going to wrap it up. I'm out of here for the weekend. I hope you all are safe. I hope you are free, and I hope to see you on Monday. God bless you all. We'll see you then.